So let's try some examples using the mean and outliers. First one says, the table shows the number of text messages sent by a group of friends over 1 week. What is the mean number of messages sent? So the steps are, add all the numbers together and then divide it by how many numbers you added. Remember, you can combine things if you want to make it less adding in the long run and add things in your head. Like, for example, 108 plus 90, we can just make it 198. 101 plus 82, 183. So you can like kind of condense a little bit so that you're adding less numbers. So this one they did for us. So they added all the numbers together and they're showing you that they're going to divide it by 7 when they're done because there's 7 numbers. So when they added all of the numbers together, they get 721. They're dividing it by 7 because there's 7 people or 7 different numbers, I should say, and they got 103 for the answer. So since this one was a multiple choice, that would be answer C. So I'm going to give you one to try. So for this one, you're going to add all of these numbers together, remembering that you can combine stuff that you can combine in your head to save you some time. Once you get your total, you're going to divide it by how many numbers there are. So pause and give this one a try. Now we're doing the same exact thing, only they're doing a double bar graph. So a double bar graph has to have a key. So if you look here, city 1 is the bars that are dark green and city 2 are the bars that are light green. So it says the double bar graph shows the monthly rainfall amounts for 2 cities over a 6-month period. Compare the mean monthly rainfalls. So they're going to do this one for us. So city 1, they're adding all of the numbers that are in the dark green. So 3.5, 2.2, 1.9, 2.1, 2.5, and 3.4. When you are adding decimals, you have to make sure you line them up, add like normal, and bring the decimal point straight down. So when they did that, they're not showing the work, but they would have lined them all up, added like normal, brought the decimal straight down. They got 15.6. They're dividing it by 6 because there's 6 green bars, and they got 2.6. City 2, same thing, only they're adding all of the bars that are light green. So 1.7, 1.6, 2.2, 2.1, 2.7, 1.7. Line them all up, add like normal, bring the decimal point straight down. And they did that. They actually got 12.0. So they just made it a 12 because it's the same thing. They're dividing it by 6 because there's 6 different numbers they added, and they got an average of 2. So what this tells us is if this is reporting how much rainfall these 2 different cities got, then city 1 on average gets more rainfall because their average is higher than city 2. So I'm going to give you one of these to try. Do it on the back of your notes. You're doing the same exact thing. You're going to add all of city A and divide it by how many numbers there are. Then you're going to add all of city B and divide that by how many numbers you added. And you're going to tell me which one has the higher average monthly rainfall. So the one with the bigger answer would be your city. So make sure when you add them, you line up your decimal points, you add like normal, you bring the decimal point straight down, and then you're just going to divide it by how many numbers you added. So pause and try this one. This one has to do with outliers. So it says there's different Shetland pony heights, so little ponies. These are the heights, how tall they are. It says identify the outlier. So you want to figure out which number is either way higher or way smaller than the rest of them. So they're doing it by drawing a dot plot. You actually don't have to do this, but they're showing you a dot plot because it's an easy way of finding your outliers. It's the dot that's far away from the rest of them. So for this one, the height of the pony that's 28 inches, that's the outlier because it's really far away from all the other numbers. But you don't have to do a dot plot. You can just like look at these and also tell that 28 is much smaller. So first, they're going to find that the mean with the outlier. So that means they're adding all of the numbers together, including that 28. They got 379, dividing it by 10 because there's 10 numbers, and they got 37.9. Then you want to do it without the outlier. So the easiest way to do that would just be to take your 379 and subtract the outlier from it. So subtract 28 from it, which gives you 351. But then you're also dividing it by 9 because now you got rid of a number, so you're dividing it by 9 numbers instead of 10. And that goes in evenly, so you get 39. So that means the outlier, since the outlier was smaller, it brought down the average. So when you get rid of it, the average goes up a little bit. Okay, that's why sometimes people drop the lowest score on a test because that's an outlier. So if you drop the lower score, it helps your average out a little bit. This is kind of the same thing. If you didn't realize that you could just take your average, mean here, this total, and subtract the outlier, another way to do it would also just be to add all of the numbers except for the 28, and you get the same thing, the 351. Just remember, you're dividing it by 9 because you're adding less numbers. So I'm going to have you try this last one. So it's giving you the weight of kittens. You're going to add all of the numbers first and divide it by how many numbers you added. Then you're going to identify the outlier, so the number that's either way bigger or way smaller than the rest of them. And whatever that is, you're going to get rid of it, which means you could take the total from part B and just subtract the outlier from it and then divide it by one less amount of numbers. Okay, and see how that affects it. This is your last one, so pause and try this one.